Ash hasn't always been the smartest guy around. I mean, he rarely evolved his Pokemon, he misunderstood basic strategy, he kept forgetting the type chart, it even got reward badges multiple times without actually beating the gym leader. Well, at least that's what happened last time in Kanto, where we tried to beat all the gym leaders using the exact same team Ash used, and it was insane. I said if that video ever got 500 likes, I would do Johto next, and not only did you guys completely destroy that goal, it was by far my best video ever, so thank you guys so much. So now, it's time to finally find out. Can Ash beat the Johto gym leaders in the games? Did he finally grow as a trainer this past season? Or did he just make the same mistakes from the previous one? Well, it is Ash we're talking about. Unlike Kanto, where we tested Ash's team in all 3 versions of the region because of how different they were, Johto is a completely different story. Every gym leader has the exact same team in both Gen 2 and Gen 4, and even their moveset is quite similar. Does that make the matches identical? Not even close. And you'll understand why I decided to do both versions regardless of how similar they seem. And since I clearly hate myself, we're sticking to the same brutal rules as in Kanto. Use the exact same Pokemon Ash had for each gym. No items in battle, no EV training, only level up moves, and a level cap based on the gym leader's strongest Pokemon. This means that getting that extra powerful TM or using the Super Broken X items are completely banned. Because if Ash can win battles by pure plot armor, I should at least suffer the opposite. And with that, we had our sights on our first challenge in Violet City. I know Ash has done some dumb stuff in Kanto, but you guys were too harsh on him last time. I'm sure he had some pretty good reasons for some of those choices he made, so let's get the guy a little slack, shall we? With this incredible team at his disposal, there's no way you could have screwed this up, right?
I choose you, Chikorito!
Okay, at least try to look at the bright side. He did choose Heracross.
You put up a great battle, Chikorita.
Lasting 20 seconds is apparently good enough for Ash. Now I understand why his team is so bad. At least he was smart enough to bring Pikachu in and wait, why is he doing agility? You know what? Probably just a one-off thing. With Pikachu beating 2 opponents and Charizard coming in to beat the Ace Pidgeot in a pretty epic way, Ash acquired his first Johto badge fair and square. Well, better start than Kanto, that's for sure. And now, it's our turn to do our part, starting with Pokemon Crystal. Aside from Chikorita, Ash did choose the best team to take on Falkner, but the experience I got from Kanto told me it wasn't going to be that easy, especially after the first couple of seconds. I went in with Pikachu for obvious reasons, and my head almost dropped to the floor when I realized I couldn't even one-shot the level 7 Pidgey with Thunder Shock. Great sign of things to come. On top of that, both Pidgey and Pidgeotto had Mud Slap, a ground-type move that not only is super effective against my Pikachu, but also drops accuracy. This could go downhill very fast. Well, that's what I thought, but on top of it not being a stab move, Pidgey's stats are not exactly great, and with another Thunder Shock, we had just fated our first Pokemon. Pidgeotto was the final Pokemon, but the match had already been decided. With another Thunder Shock, I set his HP barely above half, and after a very weak tackle, I finished off the match in under 2 minutes. Now that is how you start a new challenge. The Pidgey line is not exactly known for being great, but neither is Pikachu. And with that great display, we got the first badge of the challenge. But this was only the beginning, since Harko Soul Silver were up next, and this is where things would get pretty interesting. Even though we obviously had the same opponents, their levels were a bit higher this time around, and so were their movesets. Pidgey was now rocking Sand Attack, which could get pretty annoying if he had the chance to use it multiple times in a row, and Pidgeotto also had Roost, which could potentially negate Pikachu's Thunder Shock. But that's not all, since unlike Gen 2, abilities were now a thing, and could make things more difficult, or at least that's what I thought. Keen Eye just prevents accuracy drops, which wasn't my strategy anyway. I surprisingly one-shot Pidgey with Thunder Shock, and when it was time for Pidgeotto, I got super lucky by paralyzing it with Thunder Shock, and ended up sweeping Falkner's team without losing a single HP. Wow. I know I had the type advantage, but I also knew that I was really lucky with the paralysis. Plot armor isn't just for Ash apparently. I actually decided to try the match again, and even though I still paralyzed it with Thunder Shock, Pikachu actually went down this time, and I finished it off with the almighty Chikorita. I guess Ash had the right plan all along. A bit more challenging this time around, but thanks to Ash's picks, we easily got the badge. I wish we had the Let's Go Johto to make our lives a living hell, But those that play these games know that hell is not too far off. It finally felt like Ash's brain started functioning properly since he finally sent out his newest addition to the team against a bug-type team leader. It didn't exactly turn out the way expected since he was walled by Spitterack and had to switch, but at least it was a start. Or at least I would be saying that if it wasn't for the fact that Ash brought our Chikorita again against a bug-type. Type chart, Ash, time to learn it. But honestly, this match was pretty entertaining to watch.
Stop that Spinnerack with your sweet smell!
Okay, that's not what I meant, but that was pretty funny. From Cyndaquil somehow knowing freaking Flamethrower to Scyther repelling the same move with Swords Dance, the anime just makes the attacks do different things, which I guess it's supposed to be the appeal of the anime. But with a pretty balanced match, only because Charizard left to train, Ash got his second badge of the new region. But how well do you think we will fare in Crystal? You know, having a fire type? Well, just like the previous match, our type advantage didn't exactly mean we could just one-shot a weak Metapod, so this time, I wasn't sure it would be as easy. After dispatching the Metapod, Scyther came out and a quick attack did exactly 1/3 of my HP, followed by my Ember doing the exact same amount. That meant that if he kept using quick attacks, Cyndaquil would go down first. But as we all know from the last region, the old game's AI is not exactly smart, and Scyther decided to switch his strategy and go to Fury Cutter. That move is actually kinda scary since it doubles its power every time it hits and can go from base 40 attack all the way to 160. But luckily for us, Scyther started the strategy a bit too late and went down after its second one. And with his ace down, we were only one Ember away from another easy batch in Generation 2. Also, get used to seeing me stop evolutions because it happens a lot. But thanks to Cyndaquil, we swept Bugsy's team and the second batch was ours. Hardcore Soul Silver was up, and things were quite different this time around. Conkuta and Metapod were still a joke because they only knew Poison Sting and Tackle respectively, but Scyther was a different beast. Technician increased by 50% the power of every single move that has 60 or less base power, which means Quick Attack now had a 60 base power instead of 40. Focus Energy also boosted the crit rate of moves, which was really not a good time. The real menace, however, was U-Turn. This was a 70 base power move on a Pokemon with a 110 attack stat, plus stab. It was scary to say the least. This time around, Bugsy just straight up started with his ace, and once again, the RNG gods were on my side since I managed to burn it with an Ember. Focus Energy made things scarier, letting Scyther land a critical hit with a Technician boosted quick attack, and the Citrus Berry made me a bit anxious on a battle I thought was already won. After taking very little on the second quick attack, I was finally able to finish off Scyther. Can you imagine if I hadn't burned Scyther? I probably wouldn't have survived that first critical hit anyway. The other two Pokemon were a joke since I one-shot both of them without breaking a sweat, as I once again beat the gym leader with some lucky turn of events. No bro, you don't get to evolve, you should blame Ash for that one. I feel like what makes this so different from Kanto is the fact that I just got lucky on the first try instead of having to fight over and over again for that perfect RNG. I tried a few times after that and actually lost 50% of the matches. But as we got our second batch, I knew my luck couldn't last forever. Because if luck really is my biggest weapon right now, Whitney's Miltank isn't just going to stop me. It's going to flatten me. Ah, Whitney. Every kid's nightmare. Including me. We have no idea how tough it was to beat this cow on my first playthrough when I was 7. And yeah, I just remembered I also picked Chikorita as my starter, so does that make me as bad as Ash? Ash's new addition to the team didn't really help out that much type-wise, and I actually would have preferred Noctowl instead of Pikachu. And to be fair, this is a pretty insane match in the anime.
Oh no! It's imitating Magikarp! A splash attack?
Too bad there's no water.
Wait, wrong clip.
Pikachu! Use your agility!
Seriously, again? No, that's not why this match was insane. Ash manages to beat both Pokemon with only a Cyndaquil, but when Miltank comes out...
Sounds like Miltank's the pushover Pokemon.
Famous last words. Miltank proceeds to completely demolish Ash's team without even breaking a sweat. For the first time in Johto, Ash did not beat a gym leader on the first try. They eventually fight again in an official match, but that's not even the worst part. The only reason Ash was able to finally beat Miltank was because it was a 1v3 match, and he still struggled a lot. And yes, Pikachu used agility here too. Yeah, I'm starting to see a pattern here. With a pretty decent strategy, Ash and his team were finally able to beat the god Pokemon Miltank, and even though it wasn't an official match, he still got rewarded the third badge. After seeing how hard it was for Ash to win this badge, I feared I wouldn't be able to beat Whitney at all. But at the same time, Crystal was usually the easy mode. Metronome on Clefairy was scary, and don't even get me started on Miltank. Milk Drink, Attract, Rollout, and Stomp? Lord save us. I decided to start off the fight with Cyndaquil since I thought it was the least useful one against her Miltank, and after dealing some damage, I got hit with the hilarious Metronome Perish song, meaning both Pokemon would faint in 3 turns unless they were swapped. I decided to switch to Pikachu and start setting up double teams, but for some reason, I couldn't evade a single double slap. I decided to switch to Totodile, waiting to see Clefairy go down to Perish Song, only for Whitney to call back Clefairy and bring the tank itself. Yikes. At this point, the battle was pretty much lost, but I decided to use Rage while waiting for Miltank to miss her rollout, but it never happened. After that, it was just a matter of seconds for her to easily wipe my team like we were nothing. But I did learn something. I realized that Rage was probably my key to victory if I played my cards right. Rage is a move that gets boosted every time the user gets hit, as long as you keep using it. I needed to send Totodile at the beginning to start Rage as early as possible. What I did realize was that after getting hit by Clefairy's double slap, is that each slap counts as 1 hit, so I could very quickly rack up the move's power and be able to beat Miltank. I misunderstood that power on my second try after having boosted the Rage power and netted up stupidly using another move, but I was sure next attempt would be the lucky one. Okay, I don't even care. I laughed my ass off when that happened. Even with that explosion, I got so close to beating Miltank thanks to some lucky hits and paralysis, but it just wasn't enough. But next attempt had to be the one. I started off my brilliant strategy, making Rage as powerful as possible before facing Miltank. Dropping her HP to half with just 1 attack was insane, and after putting it in the red with a second Rage, Totodile finally went down. Unfortunately for me, Miltank's rollout was now very powerful, and Pikachu was down in 1 hit because he lacked a priority move. But the same was not true for Cyndaquil, and with 1 final quick attack, finally took down the biggest Titan so far on this challenge. Why didn't he use Milk Drink at red health? I have no idea. Even a track would have been more useful against those rages, and yet it still refused to do it. And the hard-earned badge was finally mine. If I was ever complaining how easy Johto had been up to this point, I was for sure not doing that again. But I hope we didn't forget that this is still half of the match. We still have Hard Cold Soul Silver to take care of, and let me just say, it was not as forgiving. Remember how a track was never used in Crystal? Well, that's for sure about to change because Clefairy's ability is none other than Cute Charm. His ability makes it so that anytime my Pokemon uses a move that makes contact, I have a 30% chance of getting infatuated if I'm of the opposite gender. This makes me have a 50% chance of my moves just not happening every turn. This was not an issue last match since Miltank never used it in any of my male Pokemon, but this time around things were different. For some weird reason, in both Crystal and Hard Cold Soul Silver, only my Cyndaquil was female, and while that was completely random, I was not about to get a male one just to make this fight even harder, especially since I didn't think Cyndaquil was going to be that useful anyway. But my first strategy was simple. Use the exact same Rage strategy and win. Should be easy, right? Go! Rage's strategy was completely out of the question. Rage is a move that makes contact, and so I needed to either use it 10 times without ever getting infatuated, or get infatuated and never miss an attack, which in 10 attacks is like 1 in 1024. Yeah, great odds. Also, speaking of odds, what are the odds of my stupid brain forgetting to uncheck the record cursor box in OBS? 100%. Thankfully it's only for this fight, but it would be boring for you to see this stupid cursor here for this entire footage, so say hello to little Ash. Now that's better. Anyway, back to the fight. My next strategy was to use Bite over and over since Bite has a chance to flinch the opponent, and that could be very useful to beat Clefairy without losing too much HP. The problem is that even if I got to Miltank with a decent amount of HP, most of my team would die to a max of 2 hits, and the match would be gone just like that. Even Clefairy was being annoying with all the crazy metronome moves and Mimic. Yeah, Mimic. It was the worst, starting to set up Rage, only to have it start using it on me instead. Also, it didn't help that I had to essentially faint it twice since Whitney had a super potion. It was crazy. I tried so many different strategies like using one double team against Miltank, only to see Pikachu go down in one hit. And same with Cyndaquil's smokescreen. But after a very long time, I decided to let go of my Totodile lead and focus on Pikachu and the new strategy. I started off by using Thunder Wave on Clefairy and begged he wouldn't use Mimic. Yeah, because for some reason, electric Pokemon can get paralyzed, which is just stupid. Then I would set up 6 double teams and then take down the Clefairy with Pikachu. The hard part about this is that it was hard to predict when he would use Mimic, so sometimes he would copy Thunder Wave or even double team and I had to reset the fight. I must have reset over 50 times on this specific strategy. Thankfully, I was already gone at this point, so I was already using speed up anyway, so it didn't really matter. I would sometimes get lucky and get to Miltank pretty healthy, but there's one small thing you probably didn't realize yet. So the devs decided to be evil and give Miltank a Lumberry. That means that my first Thunder Wave was completely useless. It just healed instantly. The only way to land it was to somehow survive long enough to use it again, which basically meant praying she missed it twice in a row. There were so many things that had to go perfectly well in order to win this. It reminded me a lot of the Kanto gym matches. After taking the speed up in consideration, it took me over 5 hours to finally have the break I needed, to have everything perfectly aligned. After so many lucky turns, Pikachu was barely able to defeat Clefairy after setting up 6 double teams and went to fight Miltank with only 4 HP. I did not even for a second think this was the run, but I was lucky to avoid 2 of her attacks and let that final Thunder Wave. And before going down, I switched up the strategy and was able to use 3 Growls to help the rest of the team defeat Miltank. It was all so clear now. I went with Totodile to get as many Leers as possible, and even in Love, I was able to get 5 in there before going down. I knew the win was within my grasp now, because in this game, Flame Wheel became a physical attack, and after so many Leers and so many Growls, some lucky paralyzed turns, and even through a bunch of Milk Drinks, we were finally able to beat this monster. I don't think I'll ever want to face off against Whitney for the rest of my life. The blood, sweat, and tears paid off as we finally received our 3rd badge. I was completely wiped after this. What a crazy match. Strategy, luck, funny moments, rage moments, weird moments, it had it all. The only solace in this entire ordeal is that in my mind, I just took care of the hardest fight in the entire challenge. But with Morty looming over, was that even true? Gym 4 was upon us. Beating this one will put us right at the halfway point. We also get to see Shiny Noctowl in its full splendor. I'll be honest, I was never a big fan of Shiny Noctowl in the games. Maybe because of the yellow color, I don't know, but you can't deny how freaking amazing it looks in the anime. This fight had some great moments. Ghastly's amazing tongue, absolutely badass Nightshade, Morty's hilarious eyes, Ash bringing out a secret weapon right off the gate, you know, what Ash usually does. Oh, and who could forget Misty?
Not another ghost type.
Yeah, it couldn't possibly be because you're fighting a trainer that specializes in ghost type Pokemon. No, that would be crazy. To nobody's surprise, Noctowl did most of the work in this gym. But looking at the Crystal moveset, I knew it wasn't going to be as easy. Why? Well, there's no confusion in here or any other psychic type other than Reflect and Hypnosis. And on top of that, I knew Gengar was no pushover. I mean, 130 special attack is crazy. Until you realize Shadow Ball is physical in Gen 2. Oh wait, what's that? Dream Eater? Stronger and it's special? Oh boy. Now, obviously Noctowl can get hit by Shadow Ball and walls most moves that the other Pokemon have, but Curse was a bit annoying, so I came up with a simple strategy. I started off with Cyndaquil, who easily dispatched the Ghastly after an Ember and the Curse. Then I immediately switched to Pikachu to avoid the Curse damage, only to get destroyed by Haunter after putting me to sleep. Great job. Cyndaquil was able to easily finish up the job, but Gengar was next, and so I had to bring out the big boy. I know as long as I didn't fall asleep, Gengar couldn't really touch me, but I also needed to use Foresight in order to hit Gengar with Tackle because I stupidly forgot to teach it Peck. But I had a better strategy, and after Gengar missed 2 Hypnosis in a row, I was able to put it to sleep myself. I used Foresight, and now it was time to slowly, and I mean very, very slowly, chip away at his HP. Or at least that was the idea. But unfortunately, Gengar woke up, put me to sleep, and in a matter of seconds, the fight was lost. But I knew it was just a matter of time before I could claim my victory. I started off with the same strategy as before. Beat Ghastly, switch to Cyndaquil, beat Haunter, but this time I sent in Pikachu against Gengar. For some weird miracle, my Pikachu went first and was able to paralyze Gengar. I snuck in one double team and almost beat Gengar with Pikachu alone, only to see his HP get refilled thanks to Dream Eater. But with a paralyzed Gengar, it was just a matter of time before Noctowl thrashed him in Morty's final Haunter on my second attempt. After the last gym, I sure wasn't complaining about getting an easier time, and the 4th batch was finally ours. Heart Gold Soul Silver usually brings up the difficulty a bit, but if you look closely to our moveset, you know this time around is a big exception. If last time our Noctowl walled most of Morty's Pokemon, this time around I can confidently say we do that nearly completely. Not only does Noctowl have Confusion this time around, he also has the ability Insomnia, which prevents our shiny bird from falling asleep. That means that the only attack that could actually hit us was Sucker Punch and Curse, but hey, they were easy enough to avoid. I easily one-shot the Ghastly, but unfortunately not having Stab and Confusion meant that Haunter needed 2 hits to beat. That worked perfectly. Morty burned up his Hyper Potion on Haunter, not Gengar, and after Curse, the Haunter went down. I switched to Pikachu to get rid of the Curse, and both Pikachu and Cyndaquil went down in 1 hit. You see how hard this fight would be without Noctowl? Once again, Ash chose wisely. It was now Ace versus Ace. But I clearly had the upper hand, and a bulletproof strategy. Since Sucker Punch only does damage if I choose an attacking move, I just put Gengar to sleep, and with a couple of confusions, he went down. With only a weak Haunter left on the field, we quickly dispatched it, and with extreme ease, the 4th batch was ours. This challenge went completely 180 after last match, and to be honest, I was scared the next couple of ones would be brutal as hell, but that meant that we were only officially halfway through the challenge. Would the second half be harder than the first half, or did Ash finally start to evolve some Pokemon and choose typing wisely? Well, we are about to find out. If you're still watching and haven't subscribed yet, wow, you're basically Ash not subscribing to Common Sense. Don't be Ash, subscribe, and if this video hits 1,000 likes, I'll dive into Hoa next, which honestly might be the worst idea I've ever had. Anyway, back to the challenge. Yes, you saw that correctly. Ash finally evolved a Pokemon. Oh man, a round of applause for this amazing trainer. It only took him 5 whole gyms to do it. I'm sure this is only the first of many, right? It's the only evolution we'll see. Pokemon Master, ladies and gentlemen. No, but seriously, Ash using both Bayleaf and Pikachu for this fight just goes to show how much better he has gotten. This was a pretty good match, with Pikachu as always going down easy, I mean, big surprise, while Bayleaf taking care of Chuck's entire team. But not a lot of crazy stuff happens in the anime, so let's just jump right into Crystal. The weird level curve has always been a heated discussion about Johto, mainly because it includes 2 full regions, but it's now starting to be way more obvious. I mean, just look at the levels. It's Gym 5, and we're fighting level 30 Pokemon. I mean, Koga's Ace was level 50 in yellow. I was pretty confident for this fight, not only for the type advantage against Poliwrath, but also because the only scary move here was Mind Reader plus Dynamic Punch combination. Dynamic Punch is a powerful move that always confuses the opponent, but only has 50% accuracy. When paired with Mind Reader, it is a deadly move that always hits. I sent out Bayleaf to start off the fight, and after poisoning Primeape, it was just a matter of stalling with Synthesis until it went down. Unfortunately, Poliwrath wasn't going down as easy, since like Gengar, Hypnosis was an annoying little move that always seems to hit when you're in the receiving end of it. Razor Leaf didn't do as much as I hoped for, and after a Mind Reader and a Dynamic Punch hit and a bit of bad luck, Bayleaf went down. Pikachu just barely missed the kill on Poliwrath, only to be destroyed by a second Dynamic Punch hit in a row. 50% my ass. Second attempt, I used the same strategy as before, putting up a Reflect to minimize physical attacks, taking down Primate with still a good amount of HP, and almost one-shotting Poliwrath with a critical hit Razor Leaf. And yes, another dynamic punch hit. That's 3 times in a row. Come on, bro. Pikachu may not be the strongest around, but it does add enough speed to finish it off with a Thunderbolt to get another easy win under our belts. There wasn't that much room for strategy here since I just needed to be lucky once for a Hypnosis or Dynamic Punch to miss, but I knew that going to Hardcore Soul Silver, that would probably be a main problem. But to my surprise, Dynamic Punch had been replaced with Focus Punch. 150 base power move. The only downside to it is that it takes 2 turns, and if the user ever gets hit by a move, it will fail the attack. And my stupid ass once again played right into the opponent's trap, as I saw Primeape use Double Team and start spamming Focus Punch, only to have Pikachu go down in 1 hit. I mean, not too surprising here. Thankfully, Bayleaf was the biggest counter to this strategy. Why? Because in between generations, it learned a little move called Magical Leaf, a move that never misses. And the rest of the battle went exactly how you think it went. Both Primeape and Poliwrath used the same strategy, only to have Bayleaf hit them with Magical Leaf every single time. It was annoying to have Chuck use 2 Hyper Potions to drag the battle for another 2 minutes, but the results were always going to be the same. A complete victory from Bayleaf, just like the anime, and another badge secured. I'm sure if Bayleaf had never evolved, this fight would have been difficult with those terrible stats, but it was still too early to celebrate since Jasmine was next, and we had a big defensive wall to worry about. It's funny I mentioned Pikachu's speed last gym because for some reason in the anime, Jasmine's Magnemite was able to dodge all of Pikachu's moves even though he has 45 speed. Like half of Pikachu. I mean, gotta love the anime. That's not even the greatest part. That belongs to Ash's Pikachu defying all laws and just like Onyx in Kanto, being able to hit and do damage to Steelix. Hey, at least they kept the continuity. Even if Pikachu is a terrible pick for this match, Ash balances it out by making sure I have a fire type to make my life easier. Thanks, Ash. The fight itself is pretty great, and I especially love the way Steelix whips that Sandstorm. It's hilarious, man. But in my mind, I was already thinking on how tough this gym would actually be. Whitney had been our last very difficult challenge, and we were due to another one. Starting off with Crystal, Pikachu wasn't even an option since I could barely do any damage to Magnemite, and Steelix was not even a contest. So I started out with Cyndaquil, one-shotting the first Magnemite, and Steelix was about to come out. A monster with 200 defense. And here I was, stuck with my most powerful fire-type move, Flame Wheel. Now, for those of you who play recent Pokemon games, you're probably thinking I'm completely screwed, since Flame Wheel is a physical move. And while that's true for Generation 4 onward, in Gen 2 and 3, it's actually special. And that made all the difference in the world, since I would be hitting the 65 special defense instead of the 201. With the first Flame Wheel doing over half, and Cyndaquil tanking a super effective Rock Throw, I was able to easily defeat the scary snake after one-shotting the last Magnemite. And I was rewarded. Yet another badge after a near-perfect sweep. I was not even close to expecting it. I mean, at least not before learning about the Flame Wheel difference, which is actually what was about to make Hardcore Soul Silver a living nightmare. With Flame Wheel now being special, and having both Steelix and Magnemite with 30, this fight was about to get a lot harder. Yeah, I was confused as well. I completely forgot that in Gen 4, Sturdy only worked for one-hit KO moves, like Guillotine and Fissure, and not for every move that just straight up one-shot you. And to make this fight just as easy as Crystal, we also have access to Lava Plume on Cyndaquil, which completely fixes the Flame Wheel problem. This was about to be another clean sweep. Okay, that was just mean. I was able to return the favor on the second attempt by burning it into the ground while he went for Sandstorm. You know, just like in the anime. Magnemite went down just as easily, and the match was over after having lost only 8 HP. Honestly, Jasmine should have just handed me the badge at the door. At this point, I just felt sorry for her. Her ace went down to a baby Cyndaquil like it was nothing. Okay, I remember last time when the game humbled me by being overconfident, so I was not about to do that. And with only 2 gyms left on the challenge, and no breaks, it was time to move to a somewhat colder arena. Remember in Kanto when Ash saved the Charmander from the rain because if its tail flame went out, it would die? Well, then I'm sure you're gonna love this match. Ash literally tells the Cyndaquil to jump into a pool of water, and the alpha male of the species turns off his flame like a freaking stove and beats Dugong underwater. Like, I know we have seen some crazy plot armor in the past, but this is just insane. It almost makes me overlook how Pikachu keeps using agility for no apparent reason, like he makes him beat his opponents or something. I don't know. Well, you know what? At least he hit a ground tap again with an electric move. But as much as I want to complain about the anime rules, Ash keeps on making great decisions and brings Cyndaquil and Pikachu just like last time. And it was literally the best team he could have chosen. And yes, you didn't see it wrong. The level cap did go down from last gym, meaning I had to get this Pokemon again. Thanks, Game Freak. The strat was as simple as it comes. Beating both Seal and Dugong with Pikachu since he finally learned Thunderbolt, and beat Piloswine with Cyndaquil. And so, we started the Crystal match. Pikachu easily one-shot Seal with a Thunderbolt and Piloswine was next. I quickly brought out Cyndaquil, only to see Flame Wheel not even do half the HP. Even worse was getting hit by a non-very effective Blizzard that did half my HP and froze me. I would be more upset if it wasn't for the fact that Cyndaquil is a fire type and it didn't matter anyway since the next Flame Wheel would just melt the ice anyway, bringing him into red health. After an annoying Hyper Potion just as I was about to finish him off, we finally got rid of his ace and Pikachu was out for the final Pokemon. After 2 Thunderbolts, the match was over just like that. Not a problem whatsoever. I'm actually surprised how much damage unevolved Pokemon still do to fully evolved Pokemon, but I guess stab super effective moves make a huge difference. But looking at Harkle's Silver roster, I knew things were not going to be as easy. While Thick Fat reduces Fire and Ice moves by 50% and didn't matter in this match anyway, Snow Cloak was no fun. You raise the user's evasion in a Hailstorm by 20%, and when you're up against it, might as well be 100%. And since 2 of the 3 Pokemon had Hail, it was pretty much certain I was going to have to deal with it one way or the other. I got Pikachu out there to start off the same strategy, only to watch Seal survive a Thunderbolt, unlike what happened in Crystal. I fired off another one and the first Pokemon was out. Piloswine was the next and I had the perfect chance to make this quick. He wasn't hailing and on top of that, I managed to burn it after taking over half of his HP with a single Lava Plume. But that's about it for good news, because I completely forgot he had Mud Bomb and he nearly one-shot me. And that accuracy drop was enough for me to miss my killing move and Cyndaquil was out. Pikachu couldn't really do much, so I had to restart immediately. After Seal went down, everything turned into chaos. Yeah, it set up Hail turn 1. But not only did I manage to land every single hit, he missed the Mud Bomb, allowing me to send him back to hell. Okay, poor guy. I actually like Piloswine and Swinub a lot, so I'm sorry, I got a little carried here. After another easy matchup with Pikachu, the match was complete on my second try. I just couldn't believe how close we were from finishing up the challenge. It had been a crazy ride, and now that we got our 7th badge, only Claire, the Dragon Master, and easily the strongest gym leader yet, stood between me and total glory. Okay, that is not the highlight of this match, thank God. This match has a bit of everything. From powerful moves just bouncing off Snorlax like they were nothing, to some crazy moves like Hyper Beam and an insane flaming Seismic Toss. Heck, even Ash brought out Pikachu against Gyarados. I'm so proud of how much he grew this past couple of matches. But the only thing on my mind now were the last 2 fights. 2 more wins and I would walk out as the new... Wait, or would it be... I don't know, I'm confused. Also, don't even get me started on the last gym leader's ace being level 40. Let's just proceed. Beating 4 dragons was not gonna be an easy thing, and I went into Crystal knowing that. My team wasn't bad, since Charizard and Snorlax could pack quite a punch, but Charizard and Pikachu's attacks were all resisted by them. I could try and set up double teams against the first Dragonair, but it would be very hard since Pikachu would probably survive only a maximum of 2 hits. So my best choice was Snorlax. And his move pool was super interesting. Not only is this beast packing an 110 attack stat, but he also comes with Belly Drum and Rest. I think you know where I'm going with this. Belly Drum is essentially a +6 attack stat with the downside of the user losing 50% of his max HP, which would be totally negated by using Rest immediately after. The only difficult part is surviving 2 hits while setting all of that up, and that's where Snorlax's massive HP stat would save us. It's also funny that even if Dragonairs manages to paralyze us, Rest also takes care of that, and with Snore as an attacking move even while sleeping, this was the perfect strategy. And so, I started off the ultimate showdown with Claire, with hopes that my strategy would pay off. And it went as perfect as I would have expected. I easily one-shot all 3 Dragonairs without too much trouble while sleeping and using Snore, and when Kindra was out, I barely missed the one-shot and left it at red health. Kindra started spamming Smokescreen and I was able to land 4 in a row, making it very hard to land another Snore. But when it finally happened, her HP went down all the way with one final high roll. And that is how I was able to beat every single gym in What are you talking about? We still have Heart Gold Soul Silver, bro. What are you doing? Our final match was actually the only time in this entire challenge where the team was different in between generations, with Claire swapping one of her Dragonairs with a Gyarados. Like, I understand that she also used it in the anime, that's why they used it here, but Gyarados is not even a Dragon type. Okay, Steel also isn't an Ice type, but this is way different. Regardless, I wasn't too worried since I could just bring Pikachu to take care of it easily, but my strategy still stayed mostly the same. I say mostly because for some reason, Snore was now special instead of physical, so I had to use another move while awake. And to my surprise, Pikachu couldn't even one-shot the Gyarados that is 4 times weak to electric. Like, really? Can I just give him the Light Ball? No, it's against the... Okay, fine. Pikachu easily went down, and after Snorlax avenged his comrade, it was time to start a strategy. Dragonair was the first victim, but unlike Crystal, Kindra was not safe for last. And after missing a powerful Hydro Pump, the only way this was gonna go was with an easy one-shot from Snorlax's Body Slam. All there was left for us to do now was beat the last Dragonair and the last Pokemon of the entire challenge. And let me tell you, not even Thunder Wave was enough to stop us, as we saw the HP slowly going down as we were now officially done with this insane challenge. The last batch was finally ours, but I felt very conflicted about this specific challenge. Excluding Whitney, most of the gym leaders were pushovers. Were our unevolved Pokemon just good? Was Ash picking the right Pokemon often what made this so easy? Or was it something else? Regardless, it was a fun experience, and as always, it's time to answer the important question. Can Ash beat the Johto gym leaders in the games? The answer is a resounding yes. And unlike Kanto, where we got the easy way out a bunch of times, I will give him a lot of credit this time around. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. These ones always take a while to create since they are such a huge undertaking, so make sure you subscribe if you want to see more crazy challenges like this, and I'll see you all next time.